Hey folks, welcome to Attica Armory. So today what we're going to be doing is a fluff and buff trigger job on a Glock. For this demo we're just doing Glock 19. This is a Gen 4, but basically the process is going to be the same on any Glock model. So you'll see how it works. We're going to try to get the trigger pulled down just a little bit. We're not going to be installing any aftermarket parts, so it's probably not going to drop dramatically, but I'm hoping that I can get a half a pound, as well as just a smoother, nicer, more worked in trigger like you might get on a much older Glock that's been shot a lot. Alright, so to do this job, these are a small handful of tools that you're going to want to have. Some kind of a rotary tool with a buffer wheel, and of course some jeweler's rouge or some other kind of buffing, polishing compound. You want to use a real fine grit, and then of course a non-marring mallet is helpful, and then some kind of dental pick style pry tool, and then I've got a 30 seconds punch, and this punch will work for all three of your pins. So as always, make sure that your firearm is completely empty before you start working. Magazine out, slide back several times and point it in a safe direction and pull the trigger. Let's do a benchmark test on our trigger pull and see how that works. So testing Glock triggers can be a little tricky because of the additional trigger safety, so I usually like to start toward the bottom here, and I kind of pull downward, and then as I'm coming back I bring it back. Now we're at 5 pounds 7 ounces, give or take. Let's do that one more time. Make sure that we got a good accurate reading. Yep, that just is pretty much spot on in the exact same spot. So this is what we would expect from a factory Glock trigger. They advertise it at 5.5 pounds, and that's basically where we're at with this one. So let's see if we can't reduce that pull just a little bit and just kind of clean that trigger up and make it nice without having to add any aftermarket parts. So now that we're all detail stripped, what you need to do is make sure and clean all of your components really well, and then dry up any residual oil or CLP that might be on them. And if you're planning on putting an aftermarket connector, this is the time to do it. So you'll want to do the polishing work on your new connector. I'm going to stick with stock. Alright, so once you've got all your parts cleaned and dried, we're going to be ready to start doing some polishing. Alright, so I'm going to be using a Dremel with a buffer wheel, and I'm just loading the buffer wheel with some real fine grit jeweler's rouge, and that'll give it a nice kind of mirror shine. So on a low setting, just load your buffer wheel. And make sure and reload the rouge on there pretty much with every piece that you do, so you have a fresh amount on there. Alright, let's start with our connector, and we're just going to be doing right in here. And I'm not using a super high speed on the rotary tool, maybe around 2,000 to 4,000 RPMs, relatively low speed. You can see that we kind of polish that up. I may go down a little bit farther here, but that's sort of what it needs to look like. Now we're going to work on our trigger bar. So we're going to do right here, this area here, here, and here. Let's take a little closer look. Those are smooth surfaces. Ought to reduce the friction. All right, last spot, right up here. But that is nice and smooth. All right, so next we're going to do our safety plunger. This one can be a little bit of a pain just because, you know, it's so small, it's kind of hard to hold on to. So bear with me, just do the best you can. We're going to start by going around the outer edges, both the top and the bottom, and then we'll work our way up to the very top of it. All right, moving on to our striker. Now you can take this apart if you want to, but it's really not necessary. The only thing that we're really going to be doing is, let's see if I can get this where you guys can see it. This surface here on top and this surface here in the front. Okay, just right there and right there. And we want to leave this edge relatively sharp, so try not to roll over this edge too much. Otherwise it's going to make your trigger kind of mushy. And that's really about all you need there. You don't want to get too crazy on this part. Alright, last but not least is our extractor plunger. So we're just going to do up here on the head of it and then right down here around the tail. And that's about it. The rest of this surface doesn't touch anything or contact anything, so no need to worry about that. Alright, so now we've got everything cleaned and lubed with our Adiga CLP. This stuff does a really good job at removing things such as the jeweler's rouge or even preserving compounds like cosmoline. Let's go ahead and reinstall everything and see how it works. Alright, so once we get everything put back together, we can go ahead and test our trigger pull. So at this point, it's feeling pretty nice. relatively smooth. Reset, yeah, the reset could be a little better, but hey, it's a stock trigger, right? We'll leave well enough alone. All right, so that trigger feels pretty good. Let's see what it's weighing in at. So, see if I can adjust this. There we go. Now that is just about 5 pounds, so let's try that one more time. Yeah, so that reading came out pretty close, just a hair higher. So let me see if I can get that where you can really see it well. So that's really very close to 5 pounds. As you can see, it's not a tremendous reduction, but you will notice that the quality of your trigger will increase. The whole thing just becomes smoother. So this is a good, basically free way to improve your Glock trigger without having to introduce aftermarket parts into what is essentially a defensive weapon. Hope you enjoyed this, folks. Have a great day. Thanks.